Hello and welcome to class. This is CISC 105, an introduction to programming and analysis. There's a few things I'd like to cover in this introductory video just to help you get started. Now, what we're going to cover is going to be first, meeting your instructor, which is me. Then, how is this class organized and structured? Navigating Canvas. Topics we're going to cover in this course. What's going to be expected of you, how you can contact me, and then finally some tips for success and some closing thoughts to help you through this course. So the first thing is to meet your instructor. Well, if you haven't figured it out, that's me. My name is Walter, and I've been an instructor here at Tusculum University for now 2 years. Now, I actually have about 17 years of teaching experience in both the public and private sectors in multiple states, actually. I also have a dozen years of industry experience, mostly with programming, but also in some other areas dealing with computers, everything from VR to web development to straight system programming and quite a bit more, actually. So I'm going to take that knowledge and some of the things I've learned over my career, both professionally and as an instructor, to try to help you be successful both in this course, as well as once you get outside of the course by teaching things that you're going to need to know. How is this class structured? Well, this class has kind of a special notation. It's going to be known as a split, flipped classroom, high flex class. And if you've never heard of that before, don't worry, neither had I before we had to switch things up because of the pandemic. So I want to give you a little bit of information so you know what to expect, and that way it's not quite so scary, because trust me, with a name like that, I know when I heard it, I was a little unnerved too. Okay, so let's split this thing down into individual components. All right, the split component. Well, the split idea is because of the size of the course, we can't safely bring everyone into the classroom at one time. Keeping you safe, keeping everyone on campus safe is real important to us. So what we're going to do is we're going to split you into two separate groups, Group A and Group B. Group A will meet in person on Tuesdays and Group B will meet on Thursdays. So you'll be getting an email letting you know which group you belong to, and so you know which day to arrive in class. Now, the flipped classroom part is something that's probably a little bit different than what most people have done before. It is actually starting to take hold in education throughout other institutions, so it's not completely new, but the idea is that I'm going to provide for you information that you'll need to read beforehand or watch, in some cases, some videos beforehand. Now, I've both summarized chapters as well as you have the book to go through. This is going to help you get a good chunk of your knowledge. I need you to do that before you come to class, though. And the reason why is when you get to class, we're going to work on problem sets, sample examples, and answer, of course, any question that you have from those readings or videos. I want you to have a good understanding of this, and so we're going to take as much time as we need to answer those questions, but we're not going to have time to cover all the material because we're split into two separate groups. That's why it's the flipped classroom idea, and you're going to do some simple reading outside of class before we get there. After our actual class meeting, there's going to be some assignments for you to do, maybe a short, simple quiz. That way we can test and make sure you understand before we move on to cover additional topics. Programming builds upon itself. And just like you can't run before you know how to walk, a lot of times you can't do the advanced things in programming without understanding the basic concepts. So we're going to make sure that you get all those basic concepts and are ready to move forward for when we go through towards the more advanced portions of the course. Now, the last part is the high flex. And you might think, well, that's kind of a weird term. What does that mean? Well, let's say you're in Group A and you're supposed to attend on Tuesday, but you're not feeling well. And so, per university recommendations, you are staying isolated in your dorm room or maybe your house. Well, all of our meetings will be enabled via Zoom. That way, you can watch via Zoom, and it's just like you're there in the classroom. Now, I know it's not exactly the same, and we're going to do our best to handle that. However, you can continue to watch and stay up with the class. If unfortunately something happened and you get sick and are unable to attend that live meeting, don't worry, we are going to be recording those Zoom sessions so you can watch them at a later time. That way you won't miss any content. Additionally, because we're split, if, for example, maybe you're in Group B and you say, I really need this information, I read through it and I'm feeling a little bit uneasy about it, you are able to attend Group A via Zoom to go over those problem sets twice to make sure you get that information. So we have a lot of things that we've done to make sure that you will be able to learn this content and be completely successful using this method. Our next topic is going to be navigating Canvas. This is Canvas from a student view. You'll notice that you have, when you first log into it and you pull up your class, you get this page. It's kind of a welcome home page for this course. Underneath that, you'll have your syllabus. You can look at your syllabus and go through all the course instructions, representations, etc. that will be there. That's going to have rules about the course, rules for the school, and some additional things. The next section is where you're going to actually spend most of your time in Canvas, and that is the modules. Our modules is how we group things together so that you can see the information you need and access it. So, for example, you're going to start with a getting started. As I have a getting started with this course, which is going to have a copy of this video in it. You have some information about myself, academic support services, and Tusculum's institutional policies. Then we'll move into Module 1, and this module is we're actually going to start working with our content and learning Python. It's going to have a brief overview of how to install Python on your machine, get you some information about what Python is, where it's used, etc. There's also, if you notice, a discussion here. Make sure you complete all components before we move on to Module 2. Module 2 will be planning before we code. A poor programmer sits at a computer and starts banging out code, but he doesn't have an idea of what he really needs to do. Sure, they think they have an idea, but they really don't, in all honesty. And if you program anything of more than just a few simple lines of complexity, you're going to have an issue. So we're going to talk about how do you plan before you code. And then we're going to actually start getting into Python itself. At this point, we're going to actually start writing our first Python scripts. First, we're going to start off with something that's just a couple of lines, and then we're going to build from in. Before you know, we're going to have a dozen lines of code moving along our program, doing what we expect it to do. All of our modules are going to be similar to this in nature. Each one's going to have a section with an objective of what's going to be covered, some readings and videos for you to look at, a section for discussions that you can ask questions anytime you want about that topic. And then finally, an assignment or a quiz or maybe both that you'll need to complete to move through that process. Topics covered. So you've already seen some of the things that we've covered. So you've already seen some of the things that we're talking about with our topics and what we're going to cover. Everything from starting with Python and our decision structures, but as we move on, we're also going to see things such as repetition structures, functions, file I/O, and more, all in Python that you'll be learning. So those are some basic concepts of what we're going to cover in this course. You have a book for this course. It's starting out with Python. It's the 4th edition. You should be able to get this from the bookstore. And we're not going to start right away with this book because I know maybe you're still at home and you're not coming to campus, so you're waiting for it to arrive in the mail, or maybe you haven't had a chance to go to the bookstore yet and pick up the book. That's okay. That's why we're not going to start immediately with the book, but hopefully by week 2, week 3 at the latest, you'll have the book so we can start moving through that. So make sure you have the book so you can cover all those topics and more. We're actually going to go through almost every chapter in the book. I think we're going to skip the last chapter, and we're going to be able to do this as we go through the book, covering it all, because you doing your part and me doing my part to help you out. So what's expected of you? What is that part that I was saying that you have to do? Well, I'm going to be honest with you. First thing is, I need you to come to class. Whether it's virtually or in person, you need to be there as best you can in order to make this work. I've taught this course and many courses like it over my years of teaching. And I can tell you this is not a difficult course, but it is probably a little bit different than what you're used to. In high school, a lot of times you're expected to memorize some answers and be able to spit them back on a quiz. In this course, I'm going to be asking you to think and to problem solve and do that differently than you've probably done before. It's not really hard, but it is different, and so it takes a little bit of time to get used to. Also, I know that most people can do this. In fact, about the only reason why people fail this course is because they got behind on their work and they couldn't catch up. So a big thing I need you to do is to show up to class, either, like I said, virtually or in person, and do the work. That is a huge thing, and if you can do that, you can pass this class. Anyone can. I've taught people from different majors before, so whether you're a chemist, business IT, computer scientist, or something completely different, it's just taking something to broaden your horizons. You can take this course and you can benefit from it. Because a key component to this course is going to be, like I said before, figuring out how to solve problems. And no matter what your major is and what you do with your life, you're going to be faced with problems that you're going to have to solve, and you can take away concepts of this course. Whether you solve them with a computer like I do for most of my life, or in another degree program where you might use something different to solve a problem. The next thing I'm going to need for you, besides showing up to class and doing the assignments, is make sure that you do your readings beforehand. That's going to help you get the most benefit from this course. And then don't be afraid to chime in on discussions and other things we're going to talk about and how you can contact me in ways that you can be successful. Let's talk about how to contact me. So you're reading a chapter and you get confused. You don't understand something. Feel free to reach out to me. That's what I'm here for. We have two separate ways of contacting me. Number one is via email. So please feel free to email me. I like getting email from my students, asking questions, being able to answer them. That's part of what I'm here for. So if you have a question, feel free to email me. I'm going to email you, so feel free to take and save that as a something in your contact list or something you can use. Make sure you use your Tusculum email. The second way to contact me is via office hours. Now, typically, a student would come by my office. However, unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we're not meeting with students, or anyone for that matter, in our offices at Tusculum this semester. However, we are doing virtual office hours. So via Zoom, you'll be able to sign in, contact me. And I'm going to have about 9 hours of office hours per week. Now, most schools, they only require 5. I do more because I know a lot of times with this course, because it's something different, there are questions. And I'm here for you to be able to come and ask questions too. We're going to have 2 different types of office hours. I'm going to have some open office hours that you can come just anytime, just sign in and come visit. Maybe someone's going to be already there asking a question, maybe it's not. I'm also going to have a set of office hours that you'll need to email me a day before saying that you want to attend. And these are going to be by appointment. So you'll say, hey, I need to attend. You have an office hour at, let's say, 1 o'clock. I can be there at 1:30 because of when you get out of class. So you say, I want to be there at 1:30, and I'll put it on my calendar. I'll send you a special Zoom link, and that will just be for you and for me. So feel free to use the office hours. Feel free to contact me via email. That way, I can answer the questions that you have. Finally, I would like to leave you with some tips for success and some closing thoughts. Now, these tips I learned myself, I'm going to admit, the hard way. That is, I learned, unfortunately, after it was too late in some cases. So the number one tip I want to give you is your instructors are here to help. So don't be afraid to ask for it. One of the things that I am not able to do as an instructor is to read your mind. I cannot tell if you have a question. I cannot tell if you're getting behind. Your instructors, like me, want to help you. All you got to do is ask for it. When I was a student, I thought I had to do it on my own. I didn't think my professors cared about me, and I didn't find out until it was too late in some cases that that was not the case. That they were here to answer questions, to help. That's why we have the office hours. That's why I have twice as many office hours as a lot of schools out there require, because I know students need it, especially that first semester or two. Don't think that we're going to think down on you if you come to us and ask for help. That's not the case at all. We know that students sometimes need help, And where you might need help one day, another student totally gets it. And then the next day, your roles are going to be reversed. And so don't worry about coming and asking for questions. That's what we're here for. We want to help. Secondly, the school has a tutoring center for you. And this course is normally involved with the tutoring center, so feel free to stop by the tutoring center and ask a tutor for help. Tutors are usually your peers, maybe someone who took this a couple of semesters ago, and they'll be able to answer those questions for you as well. So if maybe you need to hear it from a person different than myself, feel free to stop by the tutoring center. Finally, and I've mentioned this before, but it is an important thing, most people pass this course. In fact, the people who don't pass this course, it's not because they're not smart, it's not because they can't do it, it's because they didn't do the work they got behind. So if you feel like you're starting to get behind, you have a question, ask it, get caught up. Don't get too far behind, because sometimes it gets, the further behind you get, the easier it is to get further behind. And I want to see you succeed. I want to see you do good and get a good grade. So please, if you need help, get it so you don't get behind, so you can stay caught up, so you can finish this course, the next one, and before you know it, you'll be graduating. So I look forward to this semester. I know it's going to be different for everyone. If you just want to send a quick email to me, feel free to do that. I appreciate that as well. I've gotten actually a couple of emails from people already. It's been great chatting with you. I look forward to a great semester, and I hope to see you in class or online soon.